All right, folks, welcome back to another deep dive. And today we are going to flip the script on something most of us usually associate with having a big bank account. Yeah, you guessed it. We are talking about sugar daddies, or I guess we should say the concept of being a sugar daddy. But as always, we're not just going to take the surface level view here.
Right.
The materials we have for this deep dive today really give us a whole new perspective on what it means to be a sugar daddy. And a spoiler alert, it's not all about yachts and private jets.
Exactly. When most people think of sugar daddies, they picture someone loaded showering their partner with expensive gifts, fancy dinners, all that jazz.
For sure.
But what these sources are saying is that image really just scratches the surface.
Yeah.
It's like looking at the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole lot more going on beneath.
Okay. I'm intrigued already. So what's the mission for this deep dive then?
Well, I'd say the mission here is to explore what other assets someone can bring to the table besides just money, and how those assets can actually add significant value to someone else's life.
All right. I'm liking where this is going.
And the really interesting part is how those qualities, those assets can be cultivated without needing to inherit a fortune or win the lottery or something like that.
All right. So let's get into it. Well, what exactly are these alternative assets we're talking about if it's not just cold hard cash?
Well, the core idea that runs through all of these materials is that being a sugar daddy isn't just about the money you spend. It's about offering something valuable to another person's life.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's where things start to get really interesting, because that ability isn't limited to just a select few. Anyone can develop these skills and qualities.
Okay, so let's break this down then. What kind of value are we talking about, if not just money?
So according to the sources, we've got personal skills, experience, and even your attitude play a much bigger role than you might think.
Interesting.
It's a total shift in focus from have to being.
I like that. So where do we start with building this being, this foundation that makes all the difference?
Well, the first point they all make is investing in yourself. And that covers several areas, starting with your physical well-being.
Right. And this isn't about becoming obsessed with looks or anything like that. It's about genuine self-care, taking care of yourself from the inside out.
Exactly.
As the sources mentioned, going to the gym, exercising regularly, eating a healthy diet, getting enough sleep, it all has a direct impact on how you feel about yourself and the confidence you project.
It does.
If you look good and feel good, it shows, right?
Absolutely. And then there's the matter of how you dress.
Right.
You don't need to spend a fortune on designer clothes to look sharp.
Right.
The key is to dress with style. Choose clothes that fit you well, that are good quality, coordinate colors well. And of course, keeping your clothes clean and in good condition is essential. A wrinkle or a stain can really ruin even the best outfit.
Totally agree. A clean, well-ironed shirt can say a lot more than a crumpled designer tee.
For sure.
So what else goes into this self-investment thing?
Social skills are another crucial element. Confidence comes from being able to interact with others effectively. Don't be afraid to strike up conversations. Learn to ask open-ended questions that encourage people to open up, listen actively, and show genuine interest in what the other person has to say.
Yeah.
All of this makes you more engaging and memorable.
Makes sense. No one likes being around someone who only talks about themselves, right?
Right.
The art of listening, really paying attention, is a superpower we often overlook.
It is. And we can't forget about emotional intelligence. Being aware of your own emotions, managing them constructively, understanding and empathizing with others' feelings are essential for building solid and meaningful relationships.
That comes back to connection, right?
Exactly, in any area of your life.
And the best part is none of this requires having a ton of money. It's about personal development. It's about investing in yourself.
It is. Which leads us right into the next point. Cultivate an attitude of abundance.
Okay. I'm all ears.
This means having a self-confidence that stems from your intrinsic worth, your inherent capabilities, not just the material things you can accumulate.
Okay, so how does this translate to everyday life, to our interactions with others?
Well, it means not feeling the need to constantly seek validation from others. Someone with an attitude of abundance knows their own value and trusts that opportunities will always be there regardless of the circumstances.
So it's about projecting this inner confidence that's attractive without being arrogant.
Precisely. And part of that attitude is reflected in the art of conversation, being able to hold interesting, engaging discussions,
Right.
asking genuine questions about the other person's experiences, opinions, dreams. People love to feel heard and valued. And a good conversationalist who's also a good listener leaves a lasting positive impression.
Absolutely. Another key point. And then they mentioned something really interesting about projecting tranquility.
Yes. Maintaining composure, even in challenging or stressful situations, conveys a sense of inner strength and reliability. People who are secure in themselves don't let small setbacks or impulsive reactions get to them. Practicing calmness and patience is a sign of emotional maturity that's highly valued.
Great. So we've got a solid foundation here. Invest in yourself and cultivate a positive attitude. What's the next step in becoming this sugar daddy without maxing out your credit cards?
Well, the next point is very insightful and I'd say quite liberating. It's about offering experiences rather than material objects.
Okay, I like that.
The idea is to become the person who provides interesting plans, special moments, without everything having to be about spending a ton of money.
This I like a lot because anyone can buy an expensive purse if they have the money. But what kind of valuable experiences can we offer without breaking the bank?
The sources provide some very practical and accessible examples.
Let's hear them.
A scenic hike in nature, a visit to a free museum or a cool exhibit, a thoughtful picnic in the park, exploring local cultural activities that are free or affordable. The key is in the creativity, the intention you put into it, not the price tag.
Absolutely. Planning a hike with stunning views doesn't cost anything, but it shows you've put in time and effort to think of something special to share.
Exactly. And then there's creating memories through shared experiences. Cooking together at home, trying a new recipe, taking a spontaneous road trip to a nearby town, attending a free cultural event like an outdoor concert or a local play. These are all fantastic opportunities to connect on a deeper level than with just a material gift.
Love the idea of cooking together. It's so intimate and fun, and you learn a lot too.
It is. And don't forget about those little details that make all the difference. A handwritten note expressing your feelings, a personalized playlist with songs. They'll love recommending a book you think they might enjoy.
Yeah.
These gestures may seem small, but they have a much bigger emotional impact than any expensive gift. They show genuine care and attention.
Totally. It's the difference between buying something generic and taking the time to create something personal and meaningful.
Exactly. And this is where a very interesting concept comes into play that the sources mention: stoic confidence.
Okay, tell me more about that. I'm curious.
Stoicism is a philosophy that teaches us to focus on what we can control, our attitudes, our decisions, and how we respond to challenges. Instead of worrying about things we can't control, we cultivate our inner strength.
So how does this tie into being a sugar daddy without a huge fortune?
Well, it means learning to let go of rigid expectations.
Okay.
If something doesn't go exactly as planned, instead of getting frustrated, we learn to adapt to circumstances with flexibility and resilience. That ability to adapt and stay calm amidst uncertainty is very attractive.
Makes sense.
And above all, it means finding our intrinsic worth within ourselves, regardless of external validation or the material possessions we might have at any given moment.
That's a solid foundation for building genuine self-confidence, for sure. So what role do social media play in all of this?
The sources talk about the importance of using social media intelligently and strategically.
Okay.
It's about creating an authentic online image that reflects your personality, your interests, and your passions, and sharing experiences and lessons learned in a genuine way.
No shallow posturing them.
It's exactly. The key is to interact with intention. Comment on posts that genuinely interest you. Participate in relevant conversations. Connect with people who share your hobbies and concerns. And very importantly, avoid unnecessary ostentation.
Right.
Genuine content that provides value or simply showcases your authenticity has a much greater long-term impact than constantly showing off luxury.
It makes sense. Authenticity always shines through in the end.
Maybe.
So what about this emotional generosity thing? It sounds like a key element in all of this.
Emotional generosity is about the ability to truly listen to others, give them your full attention, and make them feel understood and valued. It means offering support without expecting anything in return, giving your time and attention, which are often the most valuable gifts we can give someone.
So true. Sometimes just being there for someone who needs it without distractions and truly listening to what they have to say is the best gift you can give.
Absolutely. And last but not least, there's cultivating a growth mindset. This implies a commitment to continuous learning, always being open to acquiring new knowledge through reading, listening to podcasts like this, attending conferences or workshops that interest you.
Like this awesome deep dive you're doing right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's also about being able to adapt your perspective to new challenges and seeing obstacles not as insurmountable barriers, but as valuable opportunities to learn and grow. And very importantly, avoid constantly comparing yourself to others and celebrate your own progress no matter how small it may seem.
So to sum it all up, being a sugar daddy, from this perspective that the source is present isn't about having a fat bank account. It's about being an interesting, confident person with developed social skills, emotional intelligence, and above all, the ability to offer meaningful experiences and genuine emotional support.
Precisely, your self-confidence.
Yeah.
The richness of your experiences, your emotional generosity, those are the real luxuries in this context.
Well, there you have it, listeners. The next time you hear the term sugar daddy, remember there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. What unique value could you bring to any relationship, romantic or platonic, based on your own skills, your life experiences, and your attitude towards life? And take a moment to think about those memorable experiences you've shared with others that didn't involve spending a fortune. Aren't those the ones that truly leave a lasting mark? See you in our next deep dive.